GSC Game World has delivered a staggeringly expansive game with STALKER 2 Heart of Chornobyl. There is a lot going on in the recently released open-world survival horror shooter, which, combined with just how demanding every second of the game feels, means there'll be plenty that players could easily miss out on, whether inadvertently or otherwise. Of course, the game is designed to let players play the way that they want to play, but there are a few things that you definitely shouldn't be ignoring, at least if you want life in the Exclusion Zone to be a little less grueling. So here, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about.
I see the scanner. Tracing for anomalous activity in radio signals. STALKER BDA detected. Someone here! Oh my god!
Search him.
I was there. I was attacked, just like your men.
Regularly organizing your inventory and storage. STALKER 2 makes inventory management a key element for players to keep an eye on. The game is pretty stringent with inventory capacity, which means it doesn't take much for you to become over-encumbered, which in turn makes traversal and exploration a headache. Every time you're about to head out from a settlement, make sure you trim down your inventory as much as possible by depositing items into your personal stash. Turning the tables with anomalies. Weird, physics-defying anomalies are one of several ways the Exclusion Zone is constantly trying to kill you, though you're not the only one they're a threat to. Anomalies will affect and hurt anyone that gets too close, and that's something that you can use to your benefit. If anomalies are close while you're in a combat encounter, for instance, you can try luring enemies to them. Not only is this lethal, it also helps to save some bullets. Hunting for artifacts. Speaking of anomalies, when a large number of them are clustered together in an area, that usually means that there is an artifact close by. That's your cue to whip out your detector and look out for that artifact, because one way or another, you're going to want to get your hands on it. Plenty of them can be incredibly useful in combat, while even the ones that aren't can be sold for healthy sums of coupons, which is the currency used in the zone. Leaning in combat. Every combat encounter is a big struggle in STALKER 2, which is why it's critical that you make smart use of every single tool at your disposal. Leaning, for instance, is something that many might entirely ignore, especially if this slower and more deliberate pace of FPS combat isn't something that you're used to. It is, however, a useful tool, because remaining hidden behind cover is something that you'll be doing a lot of in this game, and leaning will allow you to shoot at enemies much better while doing just that. Incoming grenades. Years and years of shooters have taught us that every time an enemy throws a grenade at us, we're at least going to get an on-screen indicator to warn us, if not the option to chuck the grenade back. STALKER 2 shows us no such kindness. Enemies will yell out when they're about to throw a grenade, and if you pay attention, you might be able to hear where and when they land, but you'll be getting no prompts or indicators from the game itself.
Got a little present for you!
Always keep an eye out for incoming grenades, and if you know someone has thrown one at you, turn around and run. Short-range weapons. It's often tempting to keep your distance from foes while engaging them in combat, given how terrifying everything in this game is. But short-range weapons will often be your best friends in STALKER 2. Shotguns, for instance, are crucial because pretty much every other kind of gun in the game feels useless against most mutant enemy types, who like to get up close when they attack, but otherwise tend to move around a lot and erratically. Knives are also useful in such situations, if you somehow completely ran out of bullets. And, well, while we're speaking of knives, stealthy options. For obvious reasons, the stealthy approach is often the smartest way forward in the Chornobyl Exclusion Zone, which is why you should take every chance you get to take enemies out quietly. The game does allow you to sneak up behind enemies and perform stealth takedowns, even though that's not something that's ever explicitly tutorialized. While pretty early on, you'll also get your first silenced pistol. With well-placed headshots, silenced weapons can be particularly useful, especially if you're moving through indoor environments, crawling with enemies. And yes, your aforementioned knife is also always a decent stealth option in a pinch. Looting corpses. The usefulness and necessity of scavenging are instilled into the player every step of the way in S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2. And while a bunch of that comes through exploring the open world and combing through environments, do not underestimate the value of good old corpse looting. Every time you kill someone or run across someone who's already dead, make sure you loot their corpse. It won't be often that you'll find something rare, but from food and healing items to ammo or something else, you'll almost always find something useful. Fights between others. Conflict is far from a rarity in the Chornobyl Exclusion Zone, and while you should try and stay out of it as much as possible, if it's other parties that are getting into it, that can be pretty profitable for you. You'll often hear gunfire and sounds of combat while you're exploring the open world, and when you do, it is usually a good idea to follow the sounds and hang back and wait for the fighting to die down. Once things quiet down and the winning side moves on, you can move in and scavenge the bodies that are left behind. Side quests. Amassing a healthy pile of coupons is a crucial part of progression in S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 because that is, after all, how you get better gear, weapons, weapon upgrades, and more. As such, with side quests usually rewarding you with decent chunks of coupons upon completing, tracking down and finishing every side quest you can is highly recommended, more so than in most open world games that you'll play. Trading. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 lets you trade with merchants found in every settlement, and it's here that you're going to be doing most of your trading, especially if you're selling things. However, stalkers found out in the wilds are also NPCs that you can trade with. They obviously have much more limited selections of things that they're carrying with them compared to a merchant, but if you're in desperate need of bullets or food or healing items and nowhere close to a settlement, finding a stalker to trade with is a suitable alternative. Early repairs. In our tips and tricks feature, we already covered the importance of weapon and armor repairs in S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, but it's just as important to ensure that you're getting those repairs done as quickly as possible. Even if your weapon's condition is, say, over 80% while you're in close vicinity to attack, it is smart to get it up to 100% right then and there. The cost of repairing a weapon or armor piece goes up exponentially the further it degrades, so you're ultimately saving inevitable significant expenditures by getting repairs done before you really need them. And that'll be about it for this one. If you guys like what we're doing at GamingBolt, please consider subscribing to our channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video.